The tragedy of modern comic books is so great that even a lot of people who have no interest in comic books have commented on it. But I've heard a lot of people that I really like repeat the same bad idea over and over. People read comic books for the escapism of it, and SJW comic books don't allow for that escapism. Are you sure? Because when I look at these modern SJW comic books, what I see is the decrepit old white patriarchal heroes replaced by fresher, hipper, more skilled, more popular female and minority versions. And that's escapism. In the realm of SJW comic books, Donald Trump is revealed to be an actual supervillain who gets punched out by Captain America, but not that privileged white Captain America, a black female Captain America. And that's escapism. You can thrill to the exploits of a lesbian Latinx superhero who can travel through time to punch Hitler. And that's escapism. It's not that these stories have no escapism, they have nothing but escapism. It's that it is a narrower version of escapism, designed to appeal to a particular audience, an audience that, ironically, doesn't even read comic books. But even without the audience they crave, this is still just a form of escapism for the comic book creators, the writers and editors and companies that want these particular ideas to be dominant. It is their escapism, rather than escapism for the fans. So that's one thing that's wrong with this idea. The other is that I don't read comic books purely for the escapism of it. There's nothing wrong with escapism. That's true. But I read these stories because I'm passionate about them, not because I'm looking for a way to distract myself from my dreary life. No, they're stories that I believe in. I don't read novels to escape from reality. I don't watch movies to escape from reality. Not most of the time, anyway. I do it because I believe in the stories, because I believe stories and art have value beyond that. Besides that, if you make the claim that only escapist stories have real value to people, then you have invalidated the works of people like George Orwell and Ayn Rand and Aldous Huxley. I recognize that all three of those authors have quite a few very serious critics, but that same idea applies to a lot of authors, probably most authors, because most stories have some theme, some thesis that they're trying to get across, whether it's social or political commentary or just some philosophical insight about the world or life. It's not pure escapism. And that's the point. And superhero stories have a special value because it's not a modern invention. Superhero stories have been a part of human history from the beginning. Heroes of extraordinary power and skill in spectacular adventures. That's Hercules and Lancelot and Hiawatha and Horus. We have always had superheroes. It's a part of our history. And when we read those old stories, we aren't just seeing the daydreams and flights of fantasies of those older civilizations. We are seeing their values, the things they wanted to teach, the things that they admired. And it's not enough for the hero to be the strongest. Take Hercules, for example. He once faced the Hydra, an opponent that could not be defeated by strength and sword alone. And it is in keeping with the ancient Greek tradition. No matter how strong you are, you'd better be smart too. And the silliness and humor that you can see in comic books, it was present in old mythology as well. One of the 12 labors of Hercules was that he had to clean the Augean stables. The biggest, filthiest stables in the world. This is Hercules versus horseshit. Hercules didn't shovel all of that away, though. He used his extraordinary strength to divert a river through the stables to clean them in one day and keep himself clean in the process. That's a lesson that I think a lot of people can benefit from even in the modern world. Sometimes, when you're faced with a mountain of horseshit, the best thing you can do is keep your own hands clean. A lot of people refer to comic books as modern mythology. It's why we have heroes like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, whose powers are gifts from the Greek gods. In a more direct sense, Thor and Hercules are Avengers. fighting right alongside the likes of Captain America and Iron Man. So these comic book stories, they keep that old tradition alive. That's worth a lot more than just escapism, and that is also what's missing from the SJW comic books. It's not that SJW comic books are bad, because God knows there have always been a lot of really lousy comic books. But there were also good ones. It may have taken a particular point of view to really appreciate them, and you may have had to really look for the good ones, but they were there. And those good stories, those were the legends that were worth believing in. And that's what's being killed, because if modern writers have their way, then Thor will be unworthy and will not be able to lift his hammer, and Captain America was always a villain. So it isn't that SJW comic books are not escapist. What they lack is that legendary quality. It has been replaced with propaganda and horseshit, and maybe I can't divert a river through that, but I'm not going to get my hands dirty with it either.